North Dakota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to strike the last word.
Elm is recognized.
Yeah, that functionally is why we're here. What we're doing is the comma matters. Actually, both commas in the Second Amendment matter. Heller spent an exorbitant amount of time discussing that, going through where it was. And I reject the premise that up until the Heller decision, the only people that were allowed to keep, the absolute right to keep and bear arms were militias, because I've had that right my entire life. Heller came out significantly before that, or significantly after that. And I come from a very pro-Second Amendment state. Pretty sure my right to keep and bear my Benelli shotgun or my Ruger #1 rifle is associated with my membership in a militia, because I'm not in one.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yeah.
I just want to comment, of course you had that right, but those rights that you and many other people had were in accordance with state law. The question is, do the states have the right to regulate? And that's what I was talking about.
Absolutely. And I mean, we can discuss whether we think the Heller decision was right or wrong. I obviously 100% agree with the Heller decision, because I understand the history of how the United States started, where we were at, what we were doing. And I also just find it massively, massively interesting that we don't apply the Second Amendment in the same, or the First Amendment in the same way we apply the Second Amendment. They're right next to each other in the Bill of Rights. You can't have the most narrow possible reading of the Second Amendment and the most broad reading of the First Amendment. Because if we did that, if we applied the Second Amendment analysis that a lot of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle would like to apply, and we applied that to the First Amendment, the only thing that would be protected were printing presses. Like, you can't have a different analysis of two amendments in the Bill of Rights that are right next to each other. You either have to agree that they adapt and modify to common times, or they don't. But you can't say the Second Amendment doesn't adapt to modern times, but the First Amendment does. And that is functionally what we have done, and we continue to do in this process. And it's fascinatingly intellectually dishonest, it's legally dishonest, and we have to continue to move forward with that. But the reality of the situation, as we sit here today, Heller is the law of the land. It upholds the United States, the Second Amendment, as most of, if not all of my colleagues on the Republican side agree, and this is good legislation, and I actually agree with my friend, Representative Massey, that I wish it went further, but the least we could do is allow people who have been trained, who have done this, who have spent their entire life protecting our communities, and we ask them to go out with a gun on their hip every day. And remember this, the only time you know a routine traffic stop is routine is after it's over. And then all of a sudden, if they're off duty or retired, we're saying, thanks for playing, here's your gold watch, but you no longer can do what you have done for the last 30 years, and that's protect communities. I am yielding to my friend.